Hello guys, Sue Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 160, to Purple Roads Podcast, episode number 85, Alison, Faith, Rally, the children's musician. We had this begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I've played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show, Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world. It's amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Okay.
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carrie Stinson, and as always, I'm thrilled you're here. This is going to be so much fun. We have Alison Faith Levy, who is a musician. She's played in some children's bands. This is going to be great. And here she is. Alison, how are you?
Hold on. Come right back. Okay. I'm not going to pause it right there, but I got my iPad with me. Just continue on. Listen.
I'm so good. It's so nice to see you, Carrie. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love what you do. You were in the group, the Sippy Cups.
Yes.
And then you've got 3 albums now solo, is that correct?
Exactly, right. I have three albums for children after the Sippy Cup. So I've been doing kids music for a long time now.
Well, I know you have. Obviously, music is so important with me and my life with Barney. I saw the power of it and how it is with kids, and I want to talk about that. You're also a Jewish educator, and I want to talk about that and how you put some of that in your music as well.
Yeah, happy to talk about that journey. It's been great.
Well, I think this is going to be so much fun. So I want to start out kind of from the beginning and how you got into music, and then ultimately how you took your music into the children's world.
So I've been, playing music my whole life, piano, guitar, singing, writing songs. I had a sort of a little career as like a solo singer, songwriter, piano, chanteuse, I guess you would say.
Sure.
And then I joined a band called the Loud Family in the late 90s.
Wow.
We toured and made some albums, and just sort of really loved being a professional musician. And then towards the end of the Loud Family run, my husband and I had our son Henry, who's now 20,
Wow.
living in New York City, going to college.
Now in the mid-20s, early 20s, as I'm taping this reaction video. Continue on.
How time flies.
It's amazing, right? So this was like 2001. I had Henry, and I had been a touring musician, and then clearly I was going to be home for a while.
Right.
And everyone kept saying, "Oh, now you're going to do kids music," and I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that. Like, I have no interest in that, right?" And then we started taking some music classes, and the guy who was running the music classes was Paul, who we eventually formed the Sippy Cups. And he said, like, wouldn't it be fun to form like a really cheeky psychedelic rock band and play in bars where parents could bring their young kids, and the parents could have a beer and the kids could dance around? Because at the time, and I think it's still the same, that any bar that serves food, you can bring children to, and they can hang out. So I was like, well, that's kind of an odd idea, but sure. And it was massive. Like, we blew up so fast in San Francisco. We quickly grew out of that iteration of it. We started writing all our own original songs. We developed this gigantic stage show with a juggler, and we had an aerialist who would come down from the ceiling and spin on silks. We had confetti cannons and giant balloons, and we were writing really, really good songs. There was 3 or 4 of us that all wrote, and so we just collaborated really well, and so that just really took off, and we toured. We would do these long weekends because we all had little kids at home.
Right.
So we would go for like 3 or 4 days at a time, to a city, play a few shows, come home. And it was great for a few years, and then it just was harder once the kids started getting older.
Sure.
Wow.
You know, I
Sure.
just,
And this is something you can check out on YouTube, and we'll get links to it as well.
yeah.
It is
Wow.
really something to see. It's really interesting. It's got that retro vibe as you're kind of talking about, and it's a very interesting subject for me because it really hit the middle of both, being entertaining to adults as much as to children. Sometimes, you know, Barney songs are pretty much for kids, and the adults are, you know, I'm not sure about that. They get it, but it's definitely not to entertain them. What I was hearing is definitely, especially on the music side of it, I can see it appealing to adults. Um,
Yeah,
with
the
lyrics that
songwriting
fit
was
to the
really,
kids.
yeah, the song, we really aimed to be sophisticated in our songwriting and really hit the adults.
Right.
Mhm.
And in fact, we at some point we were playing big festivals like Lollapalooza and Austin City Limits. We were playing on the kids stage, but then we would attract what we started calling PWOCs, which were people without kids,
Wow.
because they would come wandering
Wow.
over and see this group of weirdos, you know, playing this cool like psychedelic rock music and like shooting off confetti cannons and stuff. And they're like, "Oh, this is good. I like this."
Well, you know, we had a group on the Imagination Movers,
Uh-huh.
Which is mad to me. Continue on.
sound like you know them out of Louisiana, and they played Austin City as well, Austin City Limits, and science a little bit of that. Your styles are different, but the same concept of music that appeals to adults as well as kids.
Yeah, and that was a very winning formula because if the parents, you know, put that music on and don't mind it playing over and over and over 15 times in a row, which is what kids like to do,
Right.
then we know we win because if the parents are enjoying it, we're in.
Right. Right.
And
Well, and I love
we-
the fact I saw in the videos where you had big balloons. So there was a lot of things for kids. The kids looked like they were having a blast.
Oh yeah, we'd throw these giant balloons out and they'd be like pushing them around, and you know we wanted it to be we were compared to the Flaming Lips
Mm-hmm.
in the way that and we kind of modeled ourselves a little bit after them in the way that their live shows are just so interactive and colorful, you know, just sort of elevating it to more of a party.
Wow.
Sure, I can see that. So this is always a question I ask because I was in the same concept where I never thought I'd be performing for kids. That was really not the goal. I was
Right.
also a musician, and I got an opportunity to audition. And the next thing I know, I'm in a costume that I'd never been in before, and here we go.
So you were a musician. Were you also a professional actor?
No, I wasn't. I was a piano
Oh.
player.
Wow.
But being in the entertainment world, when the opportunity came for an audition, I went. And as I always say, you know, you never say no. Oh, sure, I've been in a car. Sure, I can do. You know, sure, I can do this.
Wow.
I can dance. I can do all these things, right? And you know, next thing I know, I end up having this long career, and it changed my life. Kids entertainment
Wow.
really changed my life. The audience and the importance of it when you realize, you know, when they love something and they love what you do, you know, it's pretty magical. What was that like for you when all of a sudden, as you had mentioned earlier, you resisted doing this, you know, for kids, and next thing you know, the kids
Well,
love
I'll
what you
tell
do.
you the great difference.
Okay.
When you're in a rock band
Mm-hmm.
and you're playing in a club, the audience is like this.
Wow.
Or maybe they're like this. Right? When you're playing for an audience of families and kids, they're like this.
Wow.
Right? And they're jumping up and down, and like whatever you say, they do. They're like, let's jump up and down, let's put our hands in the air, let's spin around, let's sing along. And the kids are just there with you. And you know, as an artist, the whole thing you want is connection, right? You're all you want to do is make connection. Like it's all anyone who's an artist, you want someone to resonate with what you're doing. That's why you do it. So to have that relationship where you know that deep inside those kids are just responding to you, it was so much fun, and they were so hysterical. They would come up afterwards and we'd have these crazy conversations, and it opened up my whole idea of what being an artist could be. It really changed it,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, I do. I do.
You know.
And yeah, and you go to the purest form, right? I mean,
Right, because
really,
it's not just like I'm showing you something. it's not a spectator, passive thing. It's a very cooperative, active experience when you're playing for a family audience, and that was the biggest difference.
Well, it's interesting you say that because it really is. It's a lot of times, once again, like you said, if you're an artist just singing a song.
Oh, he just got excited.
Yeah, we should talk. We never introduced Fizzy. That is
Wow.
that
He
is
just jumped in.
Allison's pooch that might jump in and out of the shot. So
Yeah.
everything was
Someone
passed
just
out.
came into the house, and now he's excited.
Right.
Wow.
So if you see that, it's Fizzy that's coming back and forth. But yeah, they're just playing a song. But in this case, it's really interactive. We really found that out with Barney.
Yeah.
That when
Yes.
you're doing, let's say, the airplane song, it's those movements where in that case, we're just having fun together, and it's the coolest thing.
It's the coolest thing, and yeah, the other thing that and that I still carry today was that I know that when I was a kid, I liked music that was a little bit sophisticated and maybe beyond what I really understood. But I liked that, and so in the sippy cups, and even now, we realize that you don't have to. I wouldn't say dumb down, but like you don't have to completely simplify your ideas for children. They'll pick it up and they'll get it. And it was fun pushing that boundary of sophistication, and seeing them respond in their own way to certain things that we did.
Well, and it's interesting too, obviously, because we're saying kids, and that kind of labels it. But obviously, there's different audiences. For us, we were hitting the little ones. We were really. That's who we were entertaining, and so it was very simple in a lot of those ways. But as you're saying, there's an older audience too. When you start getting to 5 and then 8 and 10 and that.
Well, once they're 10, they don't want nothing to do with kids' music. They're like,
right.
Wow.
And
that is like they're done.
Yeah, we have seen that as well. There was a TV show called Wishbone. I don't know a lot of people that know Wishbone. It was a dog that relived stories through fantasy, and he went to a little older audience, and we were really on that fine line there, as you mentioned. You start getting to 10 and 12, and yeah, they're ready.
Wow.
Ready to go. Did you all start with the sippy cups? Were you doing the movements and all of that from the beginning, or did you start out with the music and add that part, making it interactive?
Well, the juggler was always a part of it.
Okay.
But it was a little more like performative.
Sure.
And then as we got going, it became more interactive. We would bring someone up from the audience. I don't know if you saw any of the stuff where we'd bring a mom up, and she'd have to hold those spinning plates and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And then we really started creating like characters and had costumes, and like I say, the aerialist who also played a lot of characters in the show. That sort of developed over time as the shows got bigger and the stages got bigger, and we had more opportunity to expand the show. So we could use different lighting, and we could have gobos behind us that had images, and the more we could get away with, we would keep pushing it. And by the time we were really big, we were traveling with I wish I had a photograph of what it looked like when we were getting ready to get on an airplane. I mean, it was just giant suitcases full of props and costumes and all our instruments, and it was a big production. But it was fun.
Well, and I understand that. My early days with Barney, the first time I was doing performances, it was a 30-minute what they call a sing-along, and that's basically it. No backdrop. It's just Barney out there, interacting with the kids. And then by the time we're doing tour, it's buses and crew, and we try. I was gone 9 months out of the year for 5 years.
Oh wow!
Just every night, like a Broadway show, doing 7 shows a week.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think that if our booking agent was able to, he would have had us doing that, but we were not able to because we all had kids at home.
Right, I was a lot younger. Obviously, I was single, and because you were gone, and of course we didn't have the things we have now. So we had a cell phone, but we didn't have all that other stuff. So we were like, "I'll see you in 9 months," and we were.
Yeah,
gone.
you're really well. Yeah.
But
which when you're young is fun. When I was in rock bands, it was great. Like
sure.
I'm traveling around the country for a month. See ya. It was great.
Yeah, it is fun. But the point, which is amazing, is that you can have those shows at that size
Mhm.
for kids. I mean, what were a lot of the sizes of your audience?
I mean, at the biggest, it was, 1,200, 1,500 seat places. That was probably the biggest we ever did. And then festival crowds. But
Yeah, 1,500 for a kids show it's a big.
those were the biggest size places. I mean, we usually between 500 to 700 was about, at the biggest, I don't think, yeah. And then obviously the festival audience is like, ooh.
Well, and and those are kids' audiences can be real loud.
Yeah.
and they're, I mean, they are there from the second you go on until it's amazing.
Well, yeah, and one thing too, when you're traveling with the kids, and we were lucky that at the time you could still sell CDs. I mean, now it's which.
Before I began this part of the episode, I had to keep my voice down because my stepdad and my mom were here, and I just don't want to wake up my family, wake up my stepdad for this, and I just don't want to keep. And my stepdad's probably here, especially my mom. So, yeah, okay. I just want to make sure. Continue on.
It was nice because our CDs were beautifully packaged. We had full color booklets, and everything was so well designed. We had T-shirts. So our merchandise table, we had a merch person that traveled with us. But that was as much as of the show. We would all be there, and we'd be taking pictures and signing things and hanging out and meeting the families, and that was a big part of it too, which was really sweet and fun. And I do wonder now, because no one buys CDs anymore. I kind of miss having that sort of document of the music just to give to the kids that has all the pictures and everything. I guess everyone's finding their own way around that.
Well, it really is amazing how all that has changed. Obviously, we were doing CDs as well, and that has completely changed.
Right. And I kind of miss being able to have that document of, that physical, I mean, we grew up with LPs, right? So we had like big, beautiful, gatefold albums that I would just sit and stare at as a kid while I was listening to the music. I don't know. I feel like that's lost a little bit now with kids.
I agree. It's changed a lot. Well, and the show, all of that has changed a lot. Their attention spans are different. And my goodness, there's 1,000 shows out there now.
And I'm very old school, just in general, And we definitely tried to pitch a TV show a few times. We had so many great ideas. It just, it never happened.
Well, and then, so when did you decide to go from that into solo?
So there came a point where the touring was just not manageable for me anymore. I really wanted to. I would be gone, and then I would come home, and I would be so tired. And I just feel like I wasn't really present. And my son was getting older, and in elementary school, and I just wanted to be here for him. I didn't want to be gone all the time. So
Okay.
I left the sippy cups. They went on a little bit longer with someone else, and then everyone just kind of decided it run its course. It was amazing. Got out on top. You know what I mean? And then I took a little break, and then I started getting asked to lead music classes and like a sing-along at a local bookstore, and I started writing new songs, and I started amassing some new songs that I would just write. I would literally wake up at 6 in the morning on the days that I had my music time and write a new song, because I'm like, oh, there's something I want to sing to the kids today, and I would just start writing these songs for them, like for the people that came to that sing along. And then before I knew it, it was more and more and more. And then I just said, okay, I'm gonna make a solo kids record. It took me a little while to feel confident enough to do that. And so my friend Alan, who produces all my music, my kids' music, he's an amazing rock musician, has a studio, and he was just super encouraging. And we just did the whole thing together. And then I put a band together, and then I started performing on my own as the big time top rock band was what I called my band. And then that took off.
was it like for you? Because it sounds like the difference between being with a group and then all of a sudden going solo. It
Mhm.
sounds like it was a completely different experience, and for you to get out there on your own.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, one thing though, it was, in some ways, it was a lot easier because I was much more portable.
Sure.
I could go to a library, with my guitar, and I also have an accordion in a little case. So I would show up with a guitar and an accordion and play a, 30, 45-minute show at a library, paid really well. Um, got to have that same interaction, but with like a smaller group. They'd set up like a room, and so I got known in that circuit, and so I would go around the whole Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. I had a packed schedule of just these little performances that kept me close to
Mhm.
home, but I was working more than ever, and I really became a better performer through that. Just really on the fly. Like you could put me in front of anyone, and I could just go, and like it was like,
Mhm.
as opposed to the Sippy Cups, which is a very polished
Sure.
set.
Mhm.
These shows would be much more spontaneous, and throw in all kinds of standards and kid stuff, and then I put this band together, and then I was, I guess I'd say, I don't know. I mean, I had sort of 15 different musicians that I could call upon, so that I never had to worry if someone wasn't available. I had like 3 drummers and 2 guitar players, 2 bass players. You know what I mean? So if I booked a show, I'd be like, okay, I know who and so I got really good at that, like just being able to like put a band together. Here's
Mhm.
the songs, trusted all of them. I knew they were great musicians. I was just like, here's the songs, learn it. We're not even gonna rehearse. Just show up. You're gonna be great, and they were.
That's awesome. And I understand all that too. I've been in the business a long time, so I understand all that stuff. It's one of my favorite things about talking about children's entertainment, and especially the music part of it. Because I saw it with Barney. You could put Barney on stage, or Barney and a couple of the other characters, and you didn't need everything else.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't need the backdrops. You just don't. You can entertain kids just by the song and the performer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
if you try to do that that's hard, right? If you're doing that with adults and you're on stage, it's hard just to do it just like that.
Wow.
I mean, we would do these massive shows with just Barney. So you going into a library for 45 minutes with your guitar and your accordion,
Mhm.
how was that experience? Talk to me about that experience of being able to entertain them with just you and your music.
I think it was because I had learned that sort of interactive piece of it. We were doing it together.
Mhm.
I wasn't just standing in front of these kids performing. We were having an experience together. So, okay, for this song, every song had something that they were doing with me. And so every song felt they were invested in it. And I learned that along the way, and that sort of fed into my teaching, and I developed a whole music class curriculum around this experience of making each song interactive in some particular way with the kids. Either it was a physical movement, or we were singing something back and forth to each other, or we were, literally moving around the room, or whatever it
Mhm.
was we were doing. There was always a piece that they were invested in. They were never just sitting there listening. There was always something to do.
I love that, and it really is an experience. I think it's why it's so beautiful. What happens with kids' music in
Mhm.
the audience.
I would create, use scarves or whatever, and just say, okay, but it wasn't just like, here's a scarf, dance around with it. It was like, okay, we're going under the ocean.
Wow.
So we're gonna throw these in the air. We're gonna go under the water, and then I would sing Yellow Submarine or something, and then we would be swimming in the ocean. It's just things like that just like playing with their imagination. You know, creating. We would go different places, or we'd be going to the jungle, or going up into outer space. It was just something always around the songs to make it feel elevated.
Mhm.
It's so beautiful because and we've talked about this that we're all born with youth, it's imagination. But when we get older, it's like we have to put it away, and we can't let anyone know, and we can't do all those things. But when we're kids, it can be that simple. I love that with the scarf and underneath the ocean. We can still do it, but we've just kind of put all that away. Oh, that's silly, or that's this and that's that. But what a beautiful to be there. And I love that term experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I always had a bit of it's funny because while I was doing it, I did have one parent approach me and said, "Have you ever done this show or this performance with adults?" And I said, "No, but I would love to." And she's like, "Oh, I think it'd be really cool for you to do like a corporate retreat. So all the adults have to do these and I always thought that would be really cool. It never happened, but I always thought how fun that would be to get a group of adults to have to do those things with me and to see what would happen if I said, okay, we're going under the ocean. Okay, we're going to jump up and down. Like what would you do? I don't know.
I think it's a great It's a great idea. And I don't know. I presume you've heard of the Wiggles. Mm-hmm. So they have been doing pub tours where they go to an adult audience and sing those Wiggles songs, and they've been doing that around Australia. And I think they're getting ready to do another one, and it actually works. It allows these adults to enjoy the things they love. That it's okay, we understand you're an adult, but you can still love that. I think it would be great to do that kind of show you're talking about for adults.
Yeah.
And bring that imagination back, because we all have it. It's almost like we can't, we can't use it.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the music that you're doing, the songs that you're doing now on these albums, and I know you have a brand new album.
Yes, so I have a new album called You Are Magic, and each solo album that I've done it sort of really marks a moment in time of what I was doing at that time with family music. So the first one, like I said, was really inspired directly by the songs I was writing for the music time I was doing.
Right.
The next one, The Start of Things, I had been teaching I was a music specialist in a preschool. So I was going to preschool every day, and I was going on a rotation around the classes with I had a little red wagon full of like shakers and sticks and scarves, and I would come in, we'd do like a half-hour music time, and I'd go from class to class. That was boot camp for a kids musician. I mean, it was exhausting. But I was teaching like 12 or 15 classes a week. It was crazy. And performing on the weekends. It was wild. And so the second album was really based around sort of the things that the kids would say to me, and just sort of the experience of being around kids in a preschool program. And then after doing that for a few years, I kind of hit the wall. I thought, and the preschool I was doing this in was a Jewish preschool. And, I'm Jewish, my family's Jewish, we raised our son Jewish, but I didn't grow up with a very strong Jewish identity as a young child. And I looked around at the school and what they were doing with the kids, and I just fell in love with it and wanted to learn everything there was to know about it, because it was all values-based. Everything they did was based in just beautiful human values, like building community, building empathy, seeing the beautiful holiness in others, and sharing, and taking care of nature, just all these things. And everything they did had an intention underneath it. I get goosebumps even just talking about it. And I thought, well, this transcends religion. This is just a beautiful environment for young children to learn how to be great human beings. And I got just so completely inspired and wanted to learn everything there was to know about it. So I went to graduate school and got a master's degree in Jewish education. I just thought, you know what, this is the world. It's just like a light went off for me in my heart, and just said, this is the place I want to be. This is everything that I love. It's creative, it's imaginative, it's spiritual. You know, I studied philosophy in college. I've always been very much kind of a little bit woo woo, you know. So
Mhm.
it had just it ticked all those boxes. It had a lot of music, it had art, it had, you know, just beautiful human connections, and it had just
Mhm.
raising a generation of kind people. And I just thought, well, that's it. Um, and so that's what the new album is inspired by completely. Is just, you know, I went through this master's program. As I was doing the master's
Mhm.
program, I was writing these songs, and they're all,
Mhm.
you know, they're you can see the Jewishness in them or not. You
Mhm.
know, they're completely secular songs, but they have Jewish values in them if you look at that angle. Does that make sense?
It does.
It does, yeah.
It does, and it's interesting. And I listened to several of them, and yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I could feel, you know, obviously I got the the being kind, but I think also, you know, building, you know, you are magic, making. I think it's so important
Mhm.
to build kids' confidence up, and
Mhm.
make them
Exactly. I wanted, yeah.
feel special and understand that the importance of it. You know that they are special, and everyone
Mhm.
is special, and you know, right now building them up and letting them. I saw that a lot with Barney, and I saw the importance of that, and I just getting that my message out. You know, I say this a lot, but especially now, I think we really need that more than ever in that message as you're presenting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I also, I really, you know, my whole master's thesis was about using art and creativity to express those values. And a lot of the album is encouraging kids to honor their unique creativity. There's a song called Draw about just expressing, you know, a lot of it is just about expressing yourself, and how our own creative art, our sort of natural inclination to create is a reflection of the sort of divine energy. It's like everything is always like being creative. It's moving forward. It's, you know, we are compelled to, as humans, to move forward. And so the creativity is just one aspect of that. But kids, um, I want them to
Mhm.
feel that that's really important, to express their creativity in whatever
Mhm.
way they want to express it. You know, and sometimes
Mhm.
it can get tamped down or pushed to the side. And um, you know, for me, and especially as a parent, my son was, you know, from day one, we saw how
Mhm.
just all over the place he was with a million different ideas. He was into this for 2 weeks, then into this for 2 weeks, and making music and drawing comics and wanting to learn about volcanoes, whatever it was, you know, and we were like all in all the time, you know. And I just wanted kids to know, like, if you're into something,
Mhm.
go for it and learn everything you want to know about it, because that's something that's driving you.
Mhm.
I don't know, I could go on and on.
No, I know, and I love it. Like, obviously,
No.
you know, the reason I had the career I had because of my parents.
Yes.
Because you know, when I told them I was going to, you know, from music school, they were very supportive. My dad said, "Let me drive you down there and let me introduce you." And you know, even when I told them, you know, I was
Mhm.
23 with Barney, and when I
Mhm.
told them, you know, what I'm doing, well,
Wow.
you need to do that. You know, I mean,
So
they
how
would.
do you? It's like, how do you go to your parents and say, "Mom, Dad, I'm gonna be a big purple dinosaur"?
Wow.
Well, initially, I actually did birthday parties for Barney back in
Yeah.
early days, but they were licensed through the company,
Mhm.
Right.
and so my parents thought, well, okay. I mean, that's I don't think they totally understood what I was doing, but they were like, oh, you know, it sounds like he's having fun and he's enjoying himself. And then when it got to the TV show and they asked me to audition and do the promotions for them, my parents. It's funny because my parents were like, you know, you're a grown adult, you need to do what you need to do. You know, just understand the responsibility. You know, I don't know if that's the way you want to have a career, but you make those decisions. You know, you're an
Mhm.
adult and do what you think you should do. And then obviously when it became a huge success, my dad came to me and said, "Well, wow, you were right," which felt the world to me.
It's
But I
very
don't.
validating.
Wow.
It is. It absolutely is. But I don't know that I would have. I'm the kind of guy that goes out and does those things, but the support of my parents really meant everything. My mom was a dancer, my dad was a musician, so, so they always supported our creativity. I have brothers and sisters. They always did that, and I think what's so important is that even if you don't become a rock star, or you don't become just being creative and getting out there is just so important for your life. Wherever you
That's
go
the
with
other
it.
thing too, is I think we are told that to be an artist,
Mm-hmm.
there's a commodification aspect to it, and that's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And what was nice for me when I started getting into Jewish education, I was like, I don't have to just do music. I can do visual art, I can do crafts, I can do anything, and it doesn't have to be like, here's this thing I'm doing and let's see if I can make money at it. It's like, no, 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 let's just be creative for the sake of self-expression, fun, learning, connection.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in college, I've always wanted to be a singer. I'm not a singer, but I've always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be a singer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took a class
Mm-hmm.
and sang in front of all these people. Horrible, but I did it. And my teacher said, you know, she gave me an A for the class, and she said, just your passion alone and the fact that you wanted to do this so much, I applaud you for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I knew, right? I did it, and I realized that just wasn't my path. But I took the chance, and yeah, it was some of it was bad, but I did it, and I'm always so proud that I did. It really
It was a
Wow.
safe space.
Mm-hmm.
It's
absolutely.
a safe space for you to try that. I bet you're really great at karaoke.
Well, in my head I am, and I enjoy it, and I have no problem getting in front of people and doing it and being happy. And I've done it and being happy for what it is. And those are the messages I think is so important to teach kids,
Yeah.
because it seems
Wow.
like there's this disconnect. We all have it when we're kids, and then we become adults, and all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
we get embarrassed or whatever, and we put that away. And I know so many people that would love to do karaoke, but they're scared, or they enjoy it. But somehow, from being a kid to an adult, because I believe we're all born creative, and then for some reason, all of a sudden, I hear adults say, "Oh, I'm not creative," and
Well,
I
there's
know
a
that's not
critical,
true.
you either hear
Mm-hmm.
criticism from outside, or you start comparing yourself to other things that you see and you feel like you're not as good, and so you want to shut it down. And, you know, perfectionism is a, one of my thesis advisories. Perfectionism is the enemy of the good, right?
Wow.
It's okay to not be perfect. Like, just keep going.
Yeah, and I learned. Luckily, I'm not one of those that because I've never been in a costume. I'm not a dancer, and so I had to do a lot of practicing, and I made mistakes as I went, but I just kept going because I'm with you. I don't know if I would have made all that
Mm-hmm.
if I would have been too hard on myself. But also, we had very support, choreographers and this and this and that said, "Oh, you just keep going, and you do those things." And I think that's really important, and it's important to teach those messages as a performer to these
Mm-hmm.
kids and get those messages in their head.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, we're kind of alluding to it, the Jewish education and putting it into your music, because I think it's really important. Um, Obviously, Christmas, that message is put out there so strong,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't see as much. Um, and so you putting this message out there and putting it in your music, I think is so important. I'd love for you to talk about it some more.
Do I need to make a Hanukkah record? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I have a
Oh.
Hanukkah single.
well, but see, no, I'm not saying that because I love the fact that you've done it in an album
Yeah.
that isn't. It's
It's
not a
subtle.
Hanukkah
It's
album.
very subtle.
It's subtle,
Mhm.
but it's there, and I think that's important. And I really haven't seen much of that before this album.
It's interesting because when I first started on this path, in addition, before I went back to graduate school, I went to a Jewish song leading conference. So So this was a national conference for anyone who leads music in the Jewish community. So this was cantors, camp song leaders, artists of all kinds. I didn't really know what to expect. I sort of went out of curiosity just to see, what do these people do? Because up until then I'd been a secular musician, but working a little bit in the Jewish community, and every time a lesser known Jewish holiday would come up, I'd have to do research and be like, oh, what do you do for this holiday? Oh, there's this song, and like I didn't even know that existed, and oh, it's about this. Like I was just like on my own little path. I went to this conference, and the power and the talent and the intention, I gave myself goosebumps again, of these people, artists and spiritual leaders, I guess you would call them, but they were so grounded and down to earth. I mean, you could call them that, but they're just, cool people.
Right.
Just hearing their songs, and they were singing in Hebrew, they were singing in English, they were doing a lot of call and response, they were raising the ruach, and ruach is spirit, right? You'd be in a room, big room with 350 of these powerhouse Jewish song leaders from all over the country, like singing together, and I was like, what? Who are these people? And now I know all these people. It's a very tight community, and really supportive community. And we all have Facebook groups, and there's just so many of these incredible Jewish artists who work both with kids, they work with adults, they work with the general, congregations, whatever it is. Everything they do is infused. It's like the musicianship is just as high as anyone I knew in the secular world, but then it also has this other layer of intentional spiritual power underneath it. And I was just like, oh my god.
Wow.
It kind of blew my mind. It still does. I mean, there's some of these artists out there who I follow who I just like, wow, in awe of what they're able to do.
So what has the response been for you in this album?
It's been lovely. I think this album for me is still mostly known in what you call the kindie rock world, right? The secular music world. So for the most part, that's where I've been getting the most response from people who have known me since the Sippy Cups till now. It's been just overwhelmingly positive, and people really understanding what I'm trying to do and appreciating what I'm trying to do. I haven't taken the leap to go like fully Jewish and in the sense that like using Hebrew in my songs or that kind of thing. Like I've done a little of it in the communities where I work, but I haven't released anything like that yet. But yeah, I feel like I'm on the right path.
Okay.
I think you can go that direction.
I don't know. Like I don't know what's next. This record just was really like all these songs just came in this perfect little package. I said, okay, that's what this thing is. And I'm actually giving myself, because now that I am teaching more and I'm working in the Jewish community, I'm not making my living. I'm not, my musician identity is a little different now. As in, it's not my livelihood at the moment. So I'm able, which is really nice, because I'm able to take a step back and wait to see what the next thing is going to be, whether it's going to be for adults, whether it's going to be have more Jewish content, or whether, I don't know, So I'm sort of liking this place I'm in right now. I'm just having released something that I feel really, really good about, and that's really like resonating with people, and they're understanding what I was trying to do. And some of the reviews, I'm just blown away. Like, they get it. They get it. It made sense. It wasn't just in my head. Like, they understand what I'm trying to do. That felt good.
Well, I think it's wonderful in the fact that you can have a message, but they're just good songs. Like, just listening to it, I didn't. Okay, it's doesn't feel preachy, I guess is the way to say it, right?
Oh, that's yeah. There's a real fine line with kids music,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of kids music is a lot of it is very message based, but it's
Mm-hmm.
literally that's all it is.
Right.
You know, and for me, it's like the songwriting comes first. This has to be a great song. It has to have great production. It has to be well written, well performed, and then the message is there too.
Yes.
Well, and that's interesting. Listening to it, I didn't feel like I was listening to kids' music.
No,
The lyrics come in, and then you see that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's just such a tricky balance
yeah.
with kids and being able to get that right. How long did the album take to put together?
A really long time.
Well.
It's because it was fits and starts.
Sure.
You know, I'd start. You know, we did the first sessions for it. Then I got into that final year of graduate school. I had to finish my thesis, so I put it on hold for that. Then it was COVID.
Wow.
You know, it took a while for us to get it. Like the songs were done, but it was just getting it all kind of recorded and mixed, and it took a while. It took a few years, but that was just because I had to take breaks in between. For a short album, it took a really long time.
Right.
Wow.
Well, I always joke about because if you're not in the industry, it looks like things are put together so quick. They're not.
I'm not a home recording person, so it's so funny because my son is an amazing musician. He's a home recording whiz. He's been doing it since he was like 8 years old, and he had the crazy stuff. But I don't work that way at all. I'm very old school, and I need to go into a studio with an engineer who will help me flesh out the ideas.
Right.
So things take longer for me.
Have you done anything have you performed with your son? Have you guys done any projects together?
During COVID, during the lockdown, he had to come home from college. He was home with us for 9 months. And we did a couple of Facebook Live concerts where we did standards because he's a jazz pianist.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And so we did these little hour-long concerts where we did standards, and he played and I sang, and we'd light a bunch of candles, and all our friends would tune in. It was so nice. So we did 2 or 3 of those while he was home, which was really sweet. And he plays on the album. Actually, there's one song called "Putting It Back Together," and here's an interesting about that song. So when I wrote that song, it's about putting together a jigsaw puzzle of the planet Earth, and that being sort of a metaphor of this. And there's a Jewish value called tikkun olam. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
So tikkun olam means to fix the world, or olam means world, and tikkun means like put together, right? Okay. So tikkun olam means to fix the world. So it's one of our highest values, and it means that's always driving us is what can we do to make the world better, right? We're always trying to put it back together. And so the song, Putting It Back Together, is literally tikkun olam, right? So it's a puzzle. The kid in the song is putting the earth puzzle together, but seeing, the earth needs help, so it's very like sort of metaphorical. But the song itself, I said it, this was way before COVID, on a snow day where the kid is stuck at home and bored, and the mom says, well, just do a puzzle, right? And it was like, it became this sort of like COVID song, because it's like, yeah, I'm stuck at home. What am I going to do with myself, right? Here's a 1,000-piece puzzle. But anyway, my son plays piano on that song, and he plays a fabulous jazz piano solo, and I love listening to it. It makes me so happy. I kvel, as we say, kvelling is like proud. I'm proud.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Have you taken these songs to the audience? Have you played them live or done them through? No?
Just virtually, Zoom concerts.
Okay.
So throughout all of the, quarantine, I was doing 2 or 3 Zoom events a week for kids and families. But now that we're back in person, I'm really, I play the songs here and there, but I haven't done a full concert of them. I mean, I can see a full stage show with, it's very elaborate, but I haven't pursued it yet, but I see it in my mind, so who knows?
Yeah.
Well, before that, though, is there maybe a smaller show where you take them out? Does that introduce you?
Right.
Or you go right to the...
I know.
Right to the big show. I love how you think.
No,
Wow.
I know. Yeah, no, I've played a few of them here and there, but I haven't done a full concert of them.
Well, how was the how were you received with the virtual, with the songs in
Oh, it was
person?
great. It's funny because at the very beginning it was very, very strong, but little kids don't have a lot of. It's very hard for them to understand what's going on with the back and forth.
Right.
So the first few months of the shutdown were really a lot of engagement, and then families were just like, "We're zoomed out," and I said,
Wow.
"That's fine. So am I.
Yeah.
So let's take a break." And I am doing in-person stuff now more in the Jewish community, but they're outdoors. It's, I mean, with the little ones, we're still waiting for things to be safe for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it'll take time, but I think at some point the families were just like, we can't do Zoom anymore.
Oh, no question. I mean, this has just been tough on everyone. Well, I mean,
You'd see the Zoom grid, right?
right.
And half of the squares was like an empty kitchen table where the kid
Wow.
had like run off somewhere. I mean, it was just like I'd be singing and doing all my stuff with my flowers in my hair and this da, 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 and like I'm singing to like either a kid just like or running out of the room or just an empty space. I'm just like, oh god.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we've all missed that in person. There's just nothing that beats those live shows in person.
No.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that.
So I kind of want to wrap up with, what do you think will be next? Where are you going next with everything?
Well, I'm really enjoying the work I'm doing with the Jewish community now in education. I've started running a school program and incorporating a lot of the things I learned in graduate school and the things that infuse this album. I'm literally there with the kids doing this every day, and I'm training teen teachers and regular teachers, and I'm like bringing this to a big community of families. So right now I'm really, really enjoying that. Just walking the walk, I guess you would say, as an educator, taking everything I've learned over the last 6 or 7 years and putting it into practice. It's beautiful and fun. I love it.
I think it's just wonderful. Where can people find the album?
So you can find You Are Magic everywhere digital music is streamed and sold. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music. If you want an actual physical CD, I have some. The cover is gorgeous, and it's only one place you can get the physical CD, and that is Bandcamp. So you can go to my Bandcamp page, and I am selling both streaming
You watch this remix.
and physical CDs. So if someone likes to have a real CD for their collection, you can do that. But you can get it everywhere: Amazon, Walmart,
Okay, hold on. Skip this one quick.
albums and physical CDs. So if someone likes to have a real CD, and that is Bandcamp.
If you watch this remix, Bandcamp. Before you continue on.
So you can go to my Bandcamp page, and I am selling both streaming albums and physical CDs. So if someone likes to have a real CD for their collection, you can do that. But you can get it everywhere: Amazon, Walmart, whatever. It's all everywhere.
You can all find it through your website?
Yes.
Okay.
AlisonLevy.com has links to everywhere you can listen to it and buy it.
Well, we will put links out everywhere so people can hear this amazing album.
Thank you so much.
It is just, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I love what you're doing, and I think it's really important. It's really important what you're doing, and being able to get to, I just learned the importance of kids' entertainment and not only entertainment, but the education aspect of it, how you influence young people. And it just carries on. So I just think it's beautiful what you're doing. I'm so thankful for you being on.
Thank you so much for having. It was really interesting to talk to you and learn a bit about your journey too. What an interesting career you've had.
Well, you have too, and it's the point of doing this show. It's funny where we end up in life and where we go. And I love how you followed your passion.
Well, and that's it. Keep growing. It's all about just continue to keep growing and look at where the path is opening for you and trust it. It will take you somewhere interesting.
Well, we'll put it all out there, and we will keep people updated on what you've got going on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Well, and thank you for watching Purple Roads. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and heart open, and you'll find your purple road. We'll see you next week.
So that was Purple Roads, episode 85. Ashlyn, Alison, Faith, Lily, children's musician. What do I say about this episode? I think it was amazing. So far, this episode was a success. That was LJPCBM episode number 1162. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned. The next one's going to be Purple Roads, episode number 86. Till next time, Sue Joseph, Bobby So Baby, Google LJPCBM is going to pursue. So it's out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.